Yeah, so let me start with a holy crap. Yeah, I mean, that's what this past holiday weekend was like in sports. We can go all the way back to Thursday with the world's worst fake punt idea and execution in the history of the world. Hey, Mike McCarthy, you're a moron. Or we can go to Friday, where the Lions did something that was long overdue in firing Matt Patricia, Bob Quinn, and trying to clean the house a little bit to try to reset to just lose again next year. Sorry, Detroit Lions fans. Or we can jump to Saturday with a holy crap again with Nate Robinson, former Knick, former NBA player, former NBA champ, that slam dunk contest champ, getting knocked the hell out. I mean, unconscious, for real unconscious. But we're not going to do any of that. We're going to tell you why the NFL is the big bad boss of everything. You already knew this, but I'm going to tell you why. Right here on the Drives with Dave podcast with your host, me, this guy, Dave Ettinger. How you doing? You can also find me right here on the Dave Talk Sports YouTube channel. Yes, it's still dark out. It's 6:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm about halfway home. Got an early jump out of work today as you join me every morning on the way home from CBS Sports Radio headquarters. So, on that note, let's get to it. First, let's talk about the NFL weekend and why it was so wild but awesome. You have Tyreek Hill, 200 plus yards receiving, ridiculous. 3 touchdowns. Mahomes, 400 plus yards, just insane. Obviously, Super Bowl favorites. Mahomes, the MVP favorite, just ridiculous. Then, Derrick Henry. Guy is the best running back in the NFL. I mean, 2 years ago, who would have thought that? He just is. He just is, because every week he goes for 100 plus, and yesterday, 3 touchdowns as well. Absolutely ridiculous. But let's get to the real story of the weekend, which is insane, but yes, it happened. The Saints visiting the Broncos. The Broncos played an NFL game yesterday without a quarterback. No. If you slept through all of Sunday, that happened. The Denver Broncos, not that any of their quarterbacks are any good or anything to write home about. I can't even remember all of them, but let's give it a go. The 4 quarterbacks that were on the roster. Pretty sure it's Drew Lock, Blake Bortles, Brett Rippon, and I think Jeff Driscoll, I think, are the 4 quarterbacks on the roster, all inactive due to close contact and being put on the COVID reserve list. Gone, can't play Sunday. But the team didn't have an outbreak in Denver, so they didn't need a postponement. They were forced to play. And that is why, it's not the first example, but it is the biggest example of why the NFL is the big bad boss that you don't mess with. Either get on the train or get out of the way, because you gonna get run over. Whether you want to or not. You can stand on the train tracks and wave your arms and say, stop. No, you getting run over. So move out of the way. It happened with the Patriots when they had to travel same day to play the Chiefs on that Monday night doubleheader towards the beginning of the season when Cam Newton had the virus and he was inactive. They had to go with Hoyer and Stidham and that pile of garbage from the quarterback position. But at least they're quarterbacks. The Broncos literally played a game yesterday. Home, doesn't matter. They only scored 3 points. Got blown out by the Saints, who, hate to break it to you, also don't have a quarterback. Well, they do, but Jameis Winston's sitting on the bench, and Taysom Hill is running around. Still doesn't have a touchdown to his name through the air. He's got a pick and a rushing touchdown yesterday, but he's not really a quarterback. He's just a running back, tight end, fullback, receiver, X-Man, Swiss Army knife, not a quarterback. But at least he has a QB next to his name. The Broncos literally didn't have a quarterback on their roster, and they were forced to play because the NFL is going to have this season hell or high water, whether you want it or not, and that's how it's going to go, even if it means play with an undrafted scout team wide receiver who wanted to play quarterback in college and barely did for half of his college career, in Kendall Hinton. You never heard of him before. Don't lie. Even if you're a diehard Broncos fan, you probably never heard of him. The Broncos literally put in a request to have one of their coaches who knows the offensive scheme really well. They put in for him to be signed for the day so he could play quarterback. I'm not kidding. That really happened. NFL said no. Broncos said, okay, well, can we move the game to Monday? The NFL said no. Maybe next time your quarterbacks will keep the freaking masks on. They'll stay with the freaking intense protocols. And then you won't have anybody on the reserve list who can play under center. Granted, your quarterbacks freaking suck, but at least you'll have a guy with a QB next to his name. Not a WR, barely half a WR. Guy was an undrafted scout team receiver playing quarterback. And he went 1 for 9, threw a pick. That's right, the Broncos had a 13-yard completion, one and only 13-yard completion to Noah Fant, the tight end. And that was it. And the Saints, even though they won like 30-1 or whatever the hell it was to 3, only had 78 yards throwing from Taysom Hill because, like I said, he is not a quarterback either. It's just scary, but this is the big bad NFL. That is the big bad wolf. And that's why they are king of the sports world. Either get on the train or get run over. And while we're still in the dark, I got to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this rant/episode of the Drives with Dave podcast. Found anywhere you find podcasts, as well as on the Dave Talk Sports YouTube channel. Like, love, comment, subscribe where I'm pointing. And enjoy your Monday. Goodbye.